This is Project Implementation Phase 3, Step 4, Staff Training. HIMS 670 Health Informatics Administration Capstone. The agenda is going to be the background. We're going to talk about the purpose. Then we're going to discuss various training items, including training plan for clinicians, doctors, and nurses, and also the administrative staff. And then we'll have a conclusion. There were 3 phases to this implementation. Phase 1 was initiation and planning, Phase 2 the execution and closing, and Phase 3 is the change management. In HIMS 650, we completed Phase 1 initiated and planning. We delivered the description of an existing paper-based medical record system. We identified the stakeholders, project team, and project manager. We developed a EHR implementation plan. We planned for the resource requirements, human resources, finance, and project management software. Then we looked at change management plan. In HIMS 661, we completed Phase 2 of the execution and closing of the project and delivered the work breakdown structures, the system acquisition, including RFIs and RFPs, provided the EHR implementation schedule using a Gantt, outlined a communication plan with the stakeholders and team members, laid out the monitor and controlling with scope, tree, time, task, budget, and quality, outlined and executed the testing, the unit and integrated performance system testing, and then the closing and signing off of the project completion. And we're here at HIMS 670, and we're developing Phase 3, the change management plan. It's a 6-step process, and we're to consult with relevant resources for each step and guidance. The purpose is to discuss the 4th of 7 post-EHR implementation steps for training clinicians and administrative staff, and includes the EHR training significance, major EHR training categories, the approach, training strategies, a role-based example, and a training checklist. There's a definite importance of training. According to Green, the better the training, the more likely the providers will be satisfied with the healthcare technology. Training staff for EHR has a great deal of benefits, including technical competency, acquiring the technical competency for the EHR system, have a positive influence on providers. The training can positively influence the willingness for the use of providers using EHR, and then to improve the clinical practices using advanced features, understanding how the system can be leveraged to improve the practice and the quality of care. There are 3 major training categories we need to look at in order to have effective training. The first one is clinical, and this area we look at the healthcare planning and delivery, the management and research, collecting all types of patient-related information gathered during the various meetings and encounters. The next item is administrative. It's pretty much all the business of providing healthcare, including the collection and the storage and reporting of demographic information, the schedules, the admits, the discharge for patients, the insurance claims, and the manual billing and electronic billing for accounts receivables. The last category is infrastructure. And infrastructure is pretty much the entire EHR environment with the management, development, communication, packages, and software. In addition, it looks at, and we need to train on, the managing the quality of assessment tools, capacity management, and then system management, including the database. We're going to look at the EHR training approach. Regardless of training category, this approach will be the same. The first thing we want to do is we just want to establish a training timeline based on the goals of the EHR implementation or the stage of where it is within the processing. What we want to do is we want to establish a training timeline and have milestones tie into goals involving users and how they should be using the actual EHR. The next item we want to do is we want to assess the training needs and user skill levels. We want to assess the computer literacy. We want to identify what each department needs to know, and we really want to focus on those need to know areas. The Department of Health and Human Services advises that only training on the specific duties instead of general staff will create a more effective training comprehension. The next item is we want to assemble the EHR training team. Now, essentially, this team consists of representatives specific to the areas within the EHR operation. That includes all stakeholders. The fourth item is to provide the trainees with real-time and hands-on EHR training. This means that the training will be able to address their real-time need-to-know issues and or functions. Each member will have a dedicated monitor that they can access the EHR, and the instruction will be by a very specific subject matter expert or a super user. The last item is to ensure that in training with EHR, you're selecting the appropriate curriculum. It's important to align the organizational goals with the ERH use. We want to design the course content and include materials that support the questions that have been widespread. We want to discuss the operational efficiencies. Also want to talk about the enhancements for EHR, and then have a survey of data from the expert users and identifying the functions of it. According to the Office of National Coordinator of Health Information Technology, EHR implementation training is crucial to truly realizing the full potential of the EHR in your organization. They recommend a number of implementation training strategies, and depending on your organization, you may use one or all of them at any given time. The training strategies are the super user training. This is a person that is a SME for the specific area department, where the user knows the entire process inside and out. In addition, they have become well trained on the EHR and knows how to effectively use the functions and features within the application in that department, and can help advise the trainees on how to use it. They're also the first level people that you want to call if you have any issues and problems. The next strategy is role-based training. This is where the training is tailored to the roles and responsibilities of each trainee within their department or group. The last strategy involves process-based training. With the introduction of the EHR system, processes will change from manual to be more automated, and it's important that you walk through the processes with each area to ensure that they understand what was happening in the past, and then what is the new workflow that is making the more efficient use of their time and each system. This is a great example of a role-based training curriculum. This is an actual curriculum that is produced by the Indian Health Service, a component of Health and Human Resources. As you can see in the beginning, you have the skills based on functional roles. You got the EHR, you got the HIM, clinical informatist, you got the HIM manager, the pharmacy informatist, laboratory radiology, information technology, QA, utilization review, provider management, and nurse management. And then you see all the corresponding the content in each phase of the rollout. This is a great example of how to roll out a role-based program. Now we're going to look at the EHR training checklist. According to VAM, without really training, the EHR systems will not be used to the fullest capacity. And making training an ongoing process, the users can really take advantage and optimize and leverage the capability of EHR to provide a more efficient and more higher quality service level. If you look at the training checklist, we'll just kind of walk through the key elements. And we want the first thing we want to do is assemble a training team and identify the stakeholders. We want to do assessment of the training that's being provided by the vendor, as well as the training that needs to be required by the organization. We want to collect the data on training needs, establish training goals, kind of put together a plan, put together a timeline, identify the SMEs and super users to be the first level of support during implementation. Determine which training method will be used and what stage. Establish training schedule with the location and also staffing. Provide a mechanism to get feedback on the training so you can make changes as needed. And also we want to establish post-implementation objectives to do a follow-up and do retraining as needed. In conclusion, training is more than conveying information to users. It must take into account the organizational needs and strategic goals, the competency and the learning styles of trainees, and anything else that would either assist or present a barrier to the training. The success depends on the goals of implementation and post-implementation training and should be part of its overall strategy. A solid training program determines the value of the EHR, and it largely depends on the user's ability to make the most of the technology. Thank you for watching this video. The next 10 seconds will be the references. Thank you.